Pete Hegseth is facing more than just political backlash. He's being accused of exposing U.S. warplanes, a charge that shakes the foundations of trust, security, and responsibility in government. Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy isn't holding back, openly calling for Hegseth to resign after alleging that he shared classified military information in a Signal chat. If true, this wouldn't be some minor lapse in judgment. It could go down as one of the most serious breaches of operational security in recent memory, a story that raises questions about leadership, accountability, and the thin line between political defense and national security disaster.
Mr. President, last night, law enforcement apprehended the man suspected in the assassination of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, and the shooting of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. We in the Senate thank our law enforcement for their remarkable work in bringing the attacker into custody. As we've all seen, the attacker planned to continue his killing spree had he not been thwarted, and had a list of over 70 public officials potentially targeted for violence, including members of the Senate. Naturally, a number of members in the Senate remain profoundly shaken. The victims were friends of our colleagues from Minnesota. Some of them were together at a dinner the night before the shooting. To think that one moment you can celebrate each other's company, laugh and joke, share a meal, a drink, only for violence to strike the next moment, makes us all sick to our stomachs. It's haunting. My prayers are with the families of the victims. I'm heartbroken for the loss of Representative Hortman and her husband. I can't get their faces, those nice pictures of such nice people, out of my mind. On the other hand, I'm glad to hear Senator Hoffman and his wife are making progress towards recovery. May God bless them all and their loved ones. Now, as we convene, I want to start with this. My highest priority right now is working with the Senate leadership on both sides, the Senate Sergeant at Arms and Capitol Police, to ensure everyone's safety. This weekend, I asked Capitol Police and the Sergeant at Arms to increase the security for members, including Senator Padilla and the Minnesota senators. Knowing that the Sergeant at Arms, her entire operation, and the Capitol Police are there to help us right now is comforting. Tomorrow, the Senate will hold an all-members briefing organized at my request and that of Senator Thune, with the Sergeant at Arms to talk about security for members. The Sergeant at Arms and Capitol Police are doing an outstanding job and have bent over backwards under very difficult circumstances to keep everyone safe. Tomorrow's briefing will be a chance for them to convey what they're doing for members to keep. Now on Senator Padilla. What happened last week to Senator Padilla was beyond the pale. I don't care who you are or what your views are. There is never justification for federal agents to put their hands on the member of the U.S. Senate, throw him onto the ground, and cuff him for no reason other than he was doing his job. The way agents treated Senator Padilla is what you see in totalitarian regimes. It is outrageous that Secretary Noem let this happen and then lied about the incident after the fact. Neither the Senate nor any member of government can tolerate a member of this chamber to be treated in this way. Secretary Noem has proven herself to be derelict in her responsibilities. I yield the floor. No P.
The allegation wasn't made in passing. Krishnamurthy came armed with examples of the very messages that were allegedly shared, holding them up as proof before a tense congressional audience. They weren't general statements. They weren't harmless banter. These were detailed communications that described launch times, specific aircraft, and confirmation from military command. One of the texts read, "Time now, weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch." Another laid out even more detail. At 12:15 Eastern, F-18's launch first strike package. There was mention of trigger-based strike windows, target locations, and the deployment of MQ-9 drones. To the average person, these might look like just technical notes, but in a military context, they're operational gold. They provide not only a sense of timing but also the sequencing of U.S. strikes, something adversaries spend millions trying to guess and predict. Krishnamurthy didn't stop at presenting the texts. He tied them directly to the legal framework that governs classified information in the United States. He cited Executive Order 13526, signed during the Trump administration, which makes it unmistakably clear: information is considered classified if its disclosure could reasonably be expected to damage national security. That includes military operations, weapons systems, or war plans. He backed it up with a second reference, the Department of Defense's own Manual on Classification, which essentially repeats the same standard. His case was devastatingly simple. Under the very rules Hegseth's administration had set, these messages checked every box of what counts as classified. And that's where the debate becomes unavoidable. Classification isn't about whether a word like F-18 is secret in itself. Everyone knows the U.S. military operates fighter jets. The existence of drones is no mystery. The issue isn't about the name of a weapon system, it's about how those details fit together. In intelligence, context is everything. A single word may not reveal much, but combine it with timing, location, and sequence, and suddenly you've built a map of operations. It's like a puzzle. One piece means nothing on its own but fit enough together and the full picture is visible. That's why the military treats operational security, or OPSEC, as sacred. Because while the public may not see the danger in a phrase or timestamp, adversaries know exactly how to use it. The stakes couldn't be higher. Timing, weapon systems, and strike windows aren't just abstract details. They're the foundation of combat advantage. Surprise is often the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. If adversaries gain even a few hours of warning, they can reposition forces, move high-value targets, or harden defenses. In the worst case, they can lay traps designed to exploit the predictability of U.S. strikes. That's why OPSEC isn't about secrecy for secrecy's sake, it's about lives. Violating it doesn't just embarrass an official, it risks missions and endangers the men and women carrying them out. Still, Hegseth and his allies have pushed back. They insist that no classified information was ever leaked. They argue the terms used, fighter jets, drones, are referenced in countless open-source documents and press releases. They claim the accusations are politically motivated, that they inflate ordinary details into scandal. But here's the problem with that defense: classification isn't about whether an individual fact is public, it's about how information is used in context. Everyone knows what a drone is. Not everyone knows the exact sequence in which drones will strike at a specific target at a specific time. And that's where Hegseth's alleged texts land firmly in the danger zone. Krishnamurthy's case also carried a sting of irony. He pointed out that the same administration now defending Hegseth had written the very rules that defined this as classified. Executive Order 13526 wasn't written by his opponents. It came from Trump's own White House. If those rules are ignored now, what message does that send? That rules apply only when convenient. That national security standards bend depending on who's being accused. That double standard is precisely what makes this controversy more than a routine political fight. The issue extends beyond whether Pete Hegseth personally mishandled classified material. It raises larger questions about the culture inside the administration itself. Is there a pattern of carelessness at the highest levels of government? Is there a sense that encrypted apps like Signal make it safe to casually share sensitive information, as though encryption erases the danger of leaking operational details? Experts warn that this mindset is dangerous. Encryption prevents outsiders from snooping, but it doesn't make classified details any less sensitive. If anything, it creates a false confidence that emboldens officials to share things they would otherwise keep out of writing entirely. And if this happened once, what are the chances it has happened before, or will happen again? That's why Krishnamurthy called not just for resignation but for a broader investigation, because this isn't just about one text thread. It's about whether there are more chats, more leaks, and more lapses of judgment hiding in plain sight. If operational details are being tossed around in encrypted chats among top officials, then America's adversaries don't need to spend fortunes on intelligence. They can just wait for another slip-up. The consequences reach beyond Washington. Allies and adversaries alike are paying attention. Allies rely on the United States to safeguard shared intelligence, often at great risk to their own operatives. If they believe American officials treat sensitive details casually, it erodes trust. Adversaries, on the other hand, see opportunity. They don't need to hack into Pentagon servers if there's already a pattern of self-inflicted leaks from the very top. That's what makes the call for resignation so explosive. It's not just about one man's fate, it's about the credibility of America's entire national security framework. If the rules can be bent or ignored for political convenience, then what's the point of having rules at all? And if the rules are enforced equally, then the precedent is clear. Even powerful figures like Hegseth must face consequences. Either way, this is a turning point. The fight now shifts to perception. Is this truly a resignation-level offense, or is it political theater designed to weaken an influential figure? Supporters of Hegseth say this is nothing more than a partisan hit job, a way to smear him with exaggerated charges. Critics argue the evidence speaks for itself, and that downplaying it undermines the seriousness of national security. Both sides know the stakes are enormous, not just for Hegseth personally, but for the broader debate over accountability in government. And the irony doesn't stop there. The controversy underscores a brutal reality. America's enemies don't always have to work hard to find vulnerabilities. Sometimes officials hand them over willingly, whether out of arrogance, carelessness, or political calculation. That's why this story matters beyond the headlines. Because if rules on classified information only apply to some people, then they're meaningless. And if they're meaningless, America's adversaries are already winning without firing a single shot. The question now is whether accountability will follow. If Hegseth did in fact cross the line, the calls for resignation won't just fade away, they'll grow louder, especially if evidence suggests this was part of a broader pattern of reckless behavior. If he's cleared, then critics will face accusations of overblowing the story. But either way, the precedent being set here is historic. How seriously does America take classified information? Is it sacred, or is it negotiable depending on who's involved? That's the crux of it, and that's why this moment could define the debate over national security for years to come. Because leaking operational details, whether intentional or careless, isn't just a scandal, it's a risk to lives, missions, and trust itself. So now the ball is in the court of the public and the government. Is this a political storm that will pass, or is it the kind of security breach that demands accountability at the highest levels? The outcome will send a message to every official, every ally, and every adversary watching. Either America enforces its rules on classified information, or it doesn't. And whichever way it goes, the world will take note.